Welcome to the Language Alchemy Podcast, where we transform how you communicate to create the life and relationships you truly want. I'm your host, Alejandra Siroka, and I help multicultural individuals, couples, and change makers move beyond surface level politeness and conflict avoidance to have authentic, value-based interactions that actually resolve issues and deepen connection. If you are tired of rehashing conversations in your head, walking on eggshells, or feeling misunderstood in your important relationships, this podcast will give you a new way forward. Today, we'll explore something truly worthy of your attention: the honorable work of transforming your communication. I invite you to think of this not as fixing something broken, but actually as unlocking a superpower you already possess. Let's start from the beginning of your life. You were born to communicate. Yes, when you came into this world, you arrived with a beautiful gift, the natural ability to communicate. You could cry when you needed comfort, make sounds of joy when you felt safe, and reach out when you wanted connection. You were born knowing how to express your authentic self. But here's what happened next, and this is where it gets fascinating. The language you use today to communicate in your daily life is language you learned. And when I say learned, I'm not just talking about vocabulary or grammar. I am talking about something much deeper and more powerful. I'm talking about internal language you use to relate to yourself, to your life, and to others. Think about it. Did you learn to have an inner neutral observer who helps you see situations clearly? Or an inner cheerleader who encourages you through challenges? Or did you develop an inner harsh critic who constantly judges your every move? Let me give you an example of a real client, and let's name her Sabrina. She realized she was still using her mother's language in her head when she was talking to herself, a voice that said things like, "You're being too sensitive," whenever she felt hurt. And at 45, Sabrina was dismissing her own feelings the same way her mother had dismissed them when Sabrina was only a little girl. Once she became aware of this pattern, she could choose a different response. After working on transforming her communication, nowadays, when she feels hurt, she says to herself, "This feeling is information. What is it trying to tell me?" Your sense of confidence, your capacity for resilience, your ability to take action and follow through, all this flows from the language you learned to use with yourself during those crucial first 7 years of life. Now that you know that you were born to communicate, it is time to evolve. You evolve through transformation. And there's a beautiful truth about transformation that's important to understand. If you're still talking to yourself using the same language patterns you absorbed as a child, it's like you're trying to navigate your adult life with a child's map. You have so much more capacity now, so many more tools, so much more wisdom. Imagine this. It's as if you learned to crawl as a baby. And that was perfect for that stage of your development. But now, decades later, you're still crawling everywhere instead of realizing you can walk, run, skip, dance, or even drive a car to get where you need to go. Let me give you a concrete example. A former client, let's call him Marco, grew up hearing, "Money doesn't grow on trees," and "We can't afford that." He heard that constantly. And as an adult, even when he had a stable, high income, he found himself saying, "I can't afford it," automatically. And he would say that about everything from a membership at the yoga studio to a vacation with his family. He transformed this language. And now, when he needs to make some kind of investment or even buy lunch, he asks himself, is this aligned with my values and my priorities right now? This shift opened up possibilities he never saw before. The beautiful truth is this: just as you have learned to move your body in countless ways since you were a crawling baby, you can learn to communicate with discernment, compassion, clarity, and authentic power. Your communication operates in 3 interconnected dimensions, and transforming each one creates a ripple effect that changes everything. The first dimension is your relationship with yourself. How you talk to yourself is the foundation of everything else. You may have an old communication pattern that when you make a mistake, it may sound like, oh, I'm so stupid for making that mistake again. Why can't I ever get this right? I should have known better. When you transform your communication in the relationship with yourself and you make a mistake, which is a natural occurrence for any human being, the transformed pattern may sound like a combination of inner statements, explorations, and reflections, such as, I made a mistake, and that's human. What can I learn from this? Or, how can I show up in a similar situation differently next time? Or, what I did or said doesn't define my worth. What I did or said is important information for my growth. Or, what I just did or said is showing me my growing edge. I had a client, let's call her Navia. Navia came from an immigrant family in which her parents worked long hours, 6 days a week. Navia's parents had great expectations of Navia, who became an extremely busy person. Navia shared with me she used to call herself lazy very frequently. When we stopped to explore this kind of language, she found that she would call herself lazy when she needed rest. Through language alchemy, she learned to say, my body and mind are asking for restoration so that I can show up fully. This simple shift changed how she cared for herself and ultimately increased her focus and her ability to show up with capacity and joy. See, changing the language she used to relate to herself transformed how she showed up in the relationships with her life and others. Let's talk about the second dimension, which is your relationship with life. The language you learned as a child gave you beliefs about life itself. Is life safe or dangerous? Is it generous or stingy? Supportive or constantly challenging? In my work, I found that most people have very little awareness about their relationship to life. But we all do, and you do as well. It's just that it may seem elusive to you because you're not noticing the type of language you're using in your internal dialogue or in your interpersonal communication when you talk about beliefs about life. And when you do, maybe you find yourself saying something like, life is always throwing obstacles at me. Why is everything so hard? Or I can't catch a break. For some people, when life gives them lemons, they don't make it into lemonade. They let the lemons become dry, hard rocks. But this didn't happen to my wonderful communication student, Dante. Dante grew up with the message that life is a struggle. He found himself bracing for problems, even when problems were not there, and therefore missing opportunities, including opportunities for joy. When he shifted this language to, Life is a journey with difficulties, discoveries, and great adventures. He started noticing the support that had always been there: helpful friends, unexpected mentors, moments of true solidarity that nourished his spirit. As you can see, when he transformed the language that he was using to relate to his life, he started to experience life in a much richer, nourishing, and supportive way. He transformed his relationship with life itself. And what's the third dimension? That is your relationship with others. This is where language alchemy becomes truly magical. The health of your relationships, and therefore the quality of your life, depends on how you communicate with others. Through language, we convey love or contempt, create healthy or unhealthy dynamics, build bridges or walls. We can be honest and tender, or guarded and calculating. We heal and we hurt through our words. Here is what transformed communication sounds like in action. Instead of expressing accusations that elicit defensiveness, such as, "You never listen to me," what comes out of your mouth is a grounded and tender expression of vulnerability that invites collaboration, such as, "I'd like to be heard right now, and I may have not been very clear. This lack of clarity is impacting our connection, and connection with you matters to me. Can we try this conversation again?" Or, for example, instead of telling your teenage daughter, "You're being too dramatic," which, by the way, is dismissive, and it's likely to shut down communication and connection, when you transform your communication, you are able to respond with curiosity, which, by the way, deepens intimacy. And so you may say something like, "I can see this friendship is really important to you. It sounds like you're feeling annoyed with your friend." When you transform your interpersonal communication, you have more choice, and you're able to express yourself authentically in a way that has presence and understanding for you and for the other person. Let me share something that might surprise you. Working on your communication isn't something to be embarrassed about or afraid of. It's something to be proud of. And when I use the word proud, I do not mean arrogant. I mean the sense of truly owning your accomplishments. Think about it this way. When someone decides to learn a musical instrument, we celebrate their commitment to growth. When someone trains for a marathon, we admire their dedication. When someone pursues a degree, we respect their investment in themselves. Transforming your communication is equally worthy of celebration, or maybe more so because it affects every single area of your life. And here's why this work becomes irresistible once you start. It gives you immediate results. Yes, and like many other forms of personal development, communication shifts create immediate changes in your daily experience. You can notice the difference in your very next conversation. When you transform your communication, it has ripple effects. When you change how you communicate, everything changes. Your relationships deepen, your confidence grows, your ability to navigate challenges expands, and your capacity for joy increases. And I cannot tell you how many students and clients have shared with me that their own partners, their family members, and their friends are learning from them, and they're also transforming their own communication. When you do the honorable work of transforming your communication, you learn to stand in your true capacity. So instead of feeling at the mercy of old patterns, you discover you have choice and power in every interaction. Here's something you need to know. The fact that you're listening to this podcast right now means you're already doing the work. You're already choosing growth over staying stuck in old communication patterns. You have everything within you to transform your communication. You have the intelligence, the heart, and the capacity. And what you might need right now is community, structure, and guidance. That's why I'm thrilled to invite you to join my online communication group coaching program starting this September. This isn't another course. It's a transformational journey with a community of fellow travelers who are committed to evolving their communication. In this program, you learn practical language alchemy tools you can use immediately. You will practice with real life scenarios. In fact, they're going to be your life scenarios in a safe, supportive environment. You will receive personalized guidance for your specific communication challenges. You will connect with others who share your commitment to growth. And you will experience the joy of watching your relationship transform. If you're dealing with family or work conflicts, if you are ready to increase your awareness of how you're relating to yourself, life, and others, or if you want to deepen your capacity for authentic connection, this program will meet you where you are and help you go where you want to be. Remember, transformation is not about becoming someone different. It's about becoming more fully yourself, the wise, loving, authentic, mature adult you truly are. To apply for the program, visit languagealchemy.com/group coaching. I'm so looking forward to supporting you on this beautiful journey. And now, let's recap what you've heard in this episode. Today, we talked about the honorable work of transforming your communication. I shared with you that you were born to communicate and that your communication needs to grow as you do. Transforming your communication is a fantastic journey that needs to be done in 3 dimensions. In your relationship with yourself, your relationship with life, and your relationship with others. Then I shared with you why transforming your communication is so important. And I also talked about the wonderful, practical, and immediate outcomes you can enjoy. Finally, I invited you to apply for the online group coaching program I'm starting in September. And for that, go to languagealchemy.com/group coaching to find out more. Until next episode, and as we say in Argentina, ciao, ciao. Original music by Gary LaPoe. You can find all links in the show notes at languagealchemy.com.